Jai Hind. Good morning to all the participants, the aspirants of Unacademy, and the fellow speakers. First of all, I want to thank the Unacademy and the Hindu Group for organizing this wonderful webinar where the youths may be given appropriate guidance to prepare themselves for a career option in the defense forces. I will be talking about possibilities of joining the NDA and what it takes to get into NDA. I will give you a brief PowerPoint presentation for next about 15 minutes, and thereafter we'll be ready to take on question answers. I intend to cover this presentation in 3 heads as shown here. Why join the armed forces? A word about NDA, and then we will tackle the details of the examination. Most of you may be aware, the armed forces are covered in the 7th schedule of our constitution, and they form part of the union list. The primary role of the armed forces is to defend and preserve the territorial integrity and sovereignty of our nation, as also secure the national interests. In terms of numbers, we are the 2nd largest military force, and in a cumulative figure of troops that we have contributed over the years to the UN, we are the largest contributor. Since we are talking of career options, I thought I must flash these figures of what numbers we are talking of. The armed forces altogether are about nearly 1.5 million. And there is an average annual intake of 2,800 officers. Of these, 1/4, that is nearly 700, are officers who come through the NDA route. So we are talking of huge numbers of career options. Why join the armed forces? In my interaction with a large cross-section of the cadets and officers over the years, there are a plethora of reasons and motivating factors that lead and encourage young men and women to seek a career option in the armed forces. I've tried to list them. To each one his or her own, but there are a number of advantages of pursuing a career in the armed forces. While you do get respectable pay scales and fair amount of benefits, I must caution that you cannot compete in terms of pay scales, etc. with the corporate sector. But yet, you have an excellent quality of life. It's a life full of challenge, opportunities, and options for leadership. While you can serve the nation in every walk of life, it's not that only the armed forces offer you an option to serve the nation. But what is different about the armed forces is the unlimited liability that you inherit to serve the nation when you join the armed forces. No other career option offers you that kind of an opportunity to serve your nation. And above all, I must emphasize that a career in armed forces is not a job. It's always a way of life. And how is this way of life? It is challenging. It's an unending adventure. It's very highly demanding. It calls for daring, and there are infinite opportunities. Now, how can you join armed forces? Broadly, there are 4 options for young men and women today to join the armed forces. The first and foremost option is a 10+2 level entry, wherein you can join either the NDA or you can take the route of the technical entry scheme, or those who are aspirants for Navy, they can opt for the Indian Naval Academy, or INA for short. And then there are the graduate level entries, where again there are 2 options. You can either seek a permanent commission or a short service commission. Then there are specialized entries called the technical entry. That is for specific branches of various disciplines of the armed forces. And a fourth one is the NCC entry. I am aware that over these 2 days, most of these options are being covered by different speakers. I shall restrict myself primarily to the option for NDA. Now, what are the advantages of an NDA entry over the others? I've tried to list them on this slide. First and foremost, it gives you an assured career immediately after you finish your schooling. It's a fully funded training program, so therefore your parents do not have to now bother about financing your education. Having joined NDA, you have multiple options. You can pursue a BA course, you can do a BSc course, or even a BTech. Irrespective of what stream you choose, there is a cross-stream part of the education and a highly diversified curriculum. Once you join your service after commissioning, at that stage, you still retain the option of joining any of these streams or arms or service of that particular service. The young age at which you are able to join NDA is a great advantage. This I shall elaborate a little more when we come to the aspects of preparing for the SSB interview. But remember that as you are young, your trainability is much higher. The number of vacancies that are there in NDA are much more than any other type of entry. As I had said earlier, almost 1/4 of the officers commissioned every year come through the NDA. And above all, it is NDA. It is the brand name. If you join NDA, you join a unique brotherhood of men. The sheer magnitude, majestic grandeur of NDA, the kind of environments that exist in NDA is unmatched. The kind of facilities that are there and the level of training that is there, it's something very, very unique. It's the only tri-service pre-commissioned training academy in India and one of the rarest in the world. Only the Australian Defence Academy and the Japanese National Defence Academy are aligned on these lines. And very rightly, therefore, NDA is always referred to as the cradle of military leadership. A word about our origin. It was towards the end of World War II that the need for a tri-service national academy was felt. And thus, the foundation stone of NDA was laid at Khadakwasla way back in October 49. Simultaneously, on temporary basis, the Joint Services Wing was established and started training the cadets at Clement Town, Dehradun. The formal inauguration of the current campus of NDA at Khadakwasla took place on 16 January 1955 by the then Chief Minister of the then Bombay State, Sri Morarji Desai. Till date, NDA has trained over 3,800 cadets. Besides the first Chief of Defence Staff, over 30 service chiefs have been produced by NDA. We also train cadets from our friendly foreign countries. Till date, nearly 1,000 cadets from other countries have been trained. As on date, we have nearly 100 cadets from 15 countries. We also have exchange visits, both in and out visits with various academies of the other countries. Now, the academic curriculum is something very unique to NDA. We are affiliated to the Jawaharlal Nehru University as far as academics are concerned, and you have an option of pursuing 4 different streams. Of course, it depends on what stream you have taken in your +2 level. Irrespective of what stream you choose, there are common subjects that everyone pursues, which includes English language and one of the foreign languages, and the basic engineering or workshop skills. This is a very practical oriented training in workshop skills. And then there are cross-stream subjects. That means if you are a BA student, you would still learn a part of physics, chemistry, and maths, and vice versa for science and BTech students. In essence, you are getting a very, very diversified, well-balanced education. And that harmonizes very well with the current concepts of multidisciplinary security. Let's come to the specific criteria and the entrance exam for NDA. Now, as you are aware, it's a +2 level basic education qualification required. The age bracket ranges from 16.5 to 19.5. That is at the time of entry. The notification for the exams are issued twice a year because the exams are conducted twice a year. Each time, nearly 4 lakh aspirants try their hand to join the NDA, and only the top about 350 to 360 make it. For the current term that is to commence shortly, 144th course of NDA, the vacancies available are 370. Most of the selection process has already been completed. Some of the SSB interviews were delayed on account of the COVID lockdown. These have also been completed in recent past, and the formalities to finalize the list is in progress. Similar vacancies would be available for the next course, that is the 145th course that will commence in January 21. The UPSC conducts the entrance examination for NDA as it does for the other entries like the CDS. The details are available on the UPSC site that is flashed here, and even the application can be submitted online on the site. The exams are twice a year, both in September and in April. The next exam is on 6th of September. That's for the 145th course as well as for the 146th course, which will start in July 21. It's a coterminous exam for both the terms because of the exam that could not be conducted in April 20 on account of COVID lockdown. After the written exam, a merit list is prepared, and those who make the cut are called for the Services Selection Board interview, or SSB interview in short. Those who clear this interview are put through a very detailed medical exam to ensure your fitness, to ascertain your fitness to undertake military training. And thereafter, if you fall into the merit list, that's the top 350, 360, you are selected for NDA. You undergo a 3 years training at NDA, and thereafter there is a magnificent passing out parade. And for the next 1 year, depending on the service you have chosen, the Army, Navy, or the Air Force, you join the respective training academy of that service for 1 more year of training, which then finally leads to the culmination of being commissioned as an officer in any of the 3 services. As far as the scheme of examination for NDA is concerned, there are essentially 2 papers. You have mathematics as paper 1. The duration is 2.5 hours and consists of 300 marks. The syllabus of mathematics is as given here on the left part of the screen, and the paper 2 consists of general ability test, which is of 600 marks, which has 2 parts, part A and part B. Part A is basically English of 200 marks, and part B is general knowledge and other general subjects, which includes the other disciplines of science, that is physics, chemistry, biology or general science, social studies, geography, and current events. So thus there is a comprehensive syllabus for the entrance exam. The level is pitched at +2 level. Now, some tips for the written exam. Most of the information is available on the UPSC site, where you get an entirely very detailed syllabus of the examination. The old question papers are available, as also the details of cutoff marks for previous exams. Besides this, there is ample content available online to prepare for NDA. There are online and offline options for going through mock tests. What I would suggest is to focus on NCERT books till the 12th class level and try and focus on the core concepts of each subject. Overall, for your current affairs and GK part, I would encourage you to read newspapers and some of the leading current affairs magazines. There are enough reference books available. Number of them are there. You can take your choice, and there are coaching classes also available. What is required is to put in sustained hard work and try and clear your basics. A word about the SSB interview. What is the SSB interview meant for? Primarily, it ascertains or determines two aspects of a candidate. Basically, the leadership potential of a candidate and what is his trainability factor, which I had referred to earlier when I said why NDA. Now, higher your age and the duration of the training that you are likely to undergo determines your trainability factor. That means lower you are in age and longer you are being trained, which is what happens with the NDA entries, largest is your trainability factor. And therefore, your chances of getting through the SSB interview are much higher when you try for NDA vis-a-vis other entries at a later age. The actual conduct of the interview takes place in two stages. Stage 1 is over the first day of your interview, wherein basic IQ tests are conducted and a basic assessment of your personality is done. And thereafter it's stage 2. If you get through stage 1, then you carry on with the stage 2, which lasts for 4 days, which has 3 distinct set of activities and assessments. First and foremost is a psychological profiling and assessment of candidates done by a very experienced and qualified psychiatrist and psychologists. Then there are group tests. Basically, they ascertain, group testing officers ascertain your performance and behavior and your ability to get along with a group. A number of group tasks are allotted and you are expected to perform them. In some, there are nominated leaders, and in some, no leaders are nominated. And the last part is a personal interview in which a candidate is asked about his own background and various other facets. Normally, the interview lasts from 30 to 40 minutes. So this, in a sense, is what the SSB interview is, right? Some tips for your SSB interview. Try and understand what is the basic SSB process, which is essentially to test your potential. You should be able to influence a group. And to be able to do that, you should be able to communicate your views. To help you in doing that, it's important that you are aware of your surroundings. You are aware of what's happening in the world. You are confident in expressing your opinion. And therefore, I would encourage you to read books, read newspapers and periodicals so that you are aware of what's happening in the world. I would also encourage you to discuss these contemporary issues with your friends and family. If you can, try and practice public speaking, as also undertake group discussions under supervision. If you get a chance, do participate in your school level competitions. It helps you gain confidence, gives you a certain amount of maturity. Even a mock practice for an interview is most welcome. And there is enough online and offline reference material available to prepare for SSB interview. I have given you enough tips. It's now time to step out, take the plunge, and conquer the world. The whole world is out there open for you. Thank you. Jai Hind. I'm now open for questions. I've already been given some questions to begin with. I shall try and answer them. Okay. What are the key areas that a defense aspirant should work on while preparing for NDA? Well, I've already covered it in my presentation. As far as the written exam are concerned, you should focus on all the subjects that constitute the two papers, and the level is at the +2 level. Focus on the NCERT books. Focus on getting your core concepts, basic concepts correct. The papers are objective type, multiple choice questions. So you don't have to write too long. It's just simple objective type papers. The more you practice, better it is, because you will be rushing against time. And mind you, it is a competitive exam. As you must have noticed, from around 4 lakh candidates, only about 350 odd are going to be selected. Let me tackle the third question first. What's your advice to the current bunch of defense aspirants who want to join Indian Army? Well, my advice is work hard. Work in a focused manner. Work hard, but work smartly. You must make a plan, make a timeline, and prepare accordingly. As far as the written exam are concerned, there is no substitute to studying. There is no substitute to practicing taking the exam, as you would be rushing against time. As far as the SSB interview is concerned, you can prepare yourself by reading, prepare yourself by undertaking practice interviews, mock interviews, taking part in group discussions, etc. But essentially, it's a test of your potential. Well, there are some coaching classes being conducted for SSB interviews. You could follow them if you wish to, although in my view, except for making you a little more acquainted with the process of SSB interview, they cannot change the entire personality of a candidate. And to that extent, they have limited utility. However, if you are trying, you can try it. I will not discourage you from that. Coming back to the second question, what inspired you to join the Indian Army? Well, I joined NDA way back in 1978. It's a long back, more than four decades ago. And essentially, it was the sheer challenge of soldiering that encouraged me to join the army. And I had studied in a Sainik school in Gujarat, in Balachadi. And Sainik schools are meant to be feeder institutes for armed forces. And therefore, it went on happening from one thing to the other. And that motivated me to join the Indian Army. I have tried to answer these 3 questions that are already posed. I'll try and take some more questions that are flashed. Okay, there is a question by someone says, is Army better than Air Force or Navy? Well, it's a question of entirely your aptitude and what you are interested in. Firstly, it's also part of your qualifications. Currently, the Air Force and the Navy entry is purely for BTech course, and therefore you have to have a science at +2 level, mathematics and science. If you have that, then you are eligible for all 3 services. Otherwise, if you are a commerce or a humanities student at +2 level, your options currently would be restricted to the Army. But irrespective of that, what you want to join is entirely a matter of interest, aptitude, and what you're looking for. Each service has got its own advantages, it's got its own challenges, uh, and its own glamour and attractiveness. Okay, again, there is a question about how do I clear the SSB interview. I think I've covered that adequately. But let me say that an SSB interview, let me elaborate a little bit. It tests your ability and potential to be a leader. So what they look at is your planning and organization ability, your ability to influence a group, your ability to be part and parcel of a team or part of a group. So towards that end, they look at your planning and organizing ability, they look at your social adjustment, they look at what is a factor known as social effectiveness, and then there are dynamic factors. They are looking at your effective intelligence, your reasoning ability, your organizing ability, your power of expression or communication, your social adaptability, your ability to be part of team, as I said, so your levels of cooperation that you display, your sense of responsibility that you display when in a group, the self-confidence that you display, your decision making. The group testing task also test your performance in a group, your behavior in a group, as also your decision making ability, and so on. So essentially, it's a test of your potential and your trainability factor. Larger your trainability factor, larger is the gap given to be able to make up to the standards that are required. Yeah, any more questions? While there is a question why English is compulsory for SSB interview, well, it is the medium of entrance exam, and therefore English as a entrance test as part of the syllabus is mandatory. However, English is not essential for SSB interview. You can communicate in any language you feel like. It is the communication ability and not the language ability that is tested in the SSB interview. There are some questions about your medical exams. Well, you will be put through the medical examination after the SSB interview. Some questions about spectacles. Well, up to a power of -2.5 is acceptable for the Army and Navy, and each service has got its own medical standards. Should you have any temporary rejection, there are scope for appeal medical board, and a review medical board. So there are enough options available. Okay, there is a question how we can improve our personality. Well, there are a number of ways to do that. First and foremost, be confident about yourself. Second, be aware of what's happening in the world. That means you must read about the happenings in the world, listen to news, read newspapers, be confident about expressing your opinion, discuss these issues with your colleagues, with your friends, with the family. Practice public speaking. Practice mock interviews. And above all, be confident about yourself. That is what will help you improve your personality. There is a question. I'm studying in 12th standard. How can I join the Air Force? Well, you can join the Air Force through the NDA in 12th. Otherwise, you can finish your graduation and thereafter try your hand at the CDS exam to join the Air Force Academy. So there are two options to join the Air Force. There is somebody who wants to know that he's got 77%. He wants to join the TES. Well, I can't answer a specific question like that because the cutoffs for the TES are determined from batch to batch. So it's difficult to answer in a hypothetical manner. Okay, there is a question, something more about medical. Well, it's a comprehensive medical test which examines all parts and facilities and faculties of your body. It's essentially to ascertain whether you are fit to undergo the rigors of a military career, including the training. And therefore, every system of the body is ascertained and examined and checked. It's a very, very fair, transparent, and objective kind of medical assessment. Okay, there is a question about how can girls join NDA. Well, I'm afraid at the moment NDA is not mandated for girl candidates. We have so far infrastructure and mandate only for the boys. There is a question, is getting into Air Force through NDA tougher than the other two? I would say the other way, because the vacancies in NDA are much higher than the direct entry into the Air Force. Therefore, the chances of making it to the Air Force through NDA are probably better. However, it is again a matter of aptitude, which way you want to join the forces. There is a question, is there a cutoff percentage for NDA exam? No, there are no cutoff percentage. As long as you cleared your 12th and you get through the UPSC entrance exam, there are no cutoff percentages. There is a question, should we take any coaching for SSB? Well, I've already given you my views. Coaching in SSB cannot change your personality overnight. What it can help you, in my view, is only to familiarize yourself with the process of the interview. And to that extent, it may help you about 5-10%, give you a little more confidence when you are going through the SSB process. But it cannot overnight, in that short capsule of 10-15 days, change your entire personality. This is better. There is a question, can NDA increase the vacancy? I'm afraid with the current infrastructure, we are already full to the brim. 370 itself is an increase of 28 vacancies per term over the previous terms. However, the endeavor is in future to increase these vacancies by another 50 odd cadets in future. But right now, we are full to the brim at 370 is max. There is a question, what kind of impact the marks scored in the boards have on the SSC? I'm afraid it has no impact. You have to just focus on your entrance exam. The board is required to be clear, that's all. There is a question by someone says, will NDA be delayed? Well, I've already told you the 144th course, which was to have joined us in July this year, has already been delayed to enable the candidates to go through the process of SSB interviews, which had to be stopped towards the end of March. But that process has now been completed, and the selected candidates would shortly be receiving their joining instructions in next, I think, 15-20 days, maximum 3-4 weeks. And we expect them to start arriving here by mid-September, end September, and we should be able to start their training as soon as possible. Once they join, they'll have to undergo a 14 days quarantine, and thereafter we'll be starting their training. Again, there's a question, what is the cutoff percentage for NDA in 12? Well, there are no cutoff percentages. There's a question, how many years on officer's duty in Indian Army? Well, Indian Army follows a system of superannuation, which is a combination of your rank and age. So, up to the rank of colonel, you serve till the age of 54. And thereafter, it's a concept of 2 years every rank that increases your length of service. So, brigadier retires at the age of 56. A major general retires at the age of 58, and a lieutenant general retires at the age of 60. So it's a concept of up or out. That means from a colonel, if you become a brigadier before the age of 54, you will continue to serve till 56 as a brigadier. If before 56 you get promoted as a major general, you will serve till 58. So it's a question of rank versus the age of retirement. Will candidate get rejected for one OLQ missing in SSB? What I would like to suggest is SSB is a comprehensive assessment of your potential as a leader. So it's not one particular facet or dimension of leadership qualities that are being factored in by SSB. It's a comprehensive assessment of your potential. So therefore, one particular quality, no particular quality is given a specific focus or importance over the other. It's a comprehensive package. There's a question about, will NDA 145 course training start in January 21? Well, that is our hope and endeavor. But it will all depend on how the events unfold. The written exam is scheduled on 6th of September. Thereafter, how quickly they are able to put the candidates through the SSB process, followed by the medical examination and all that, would be, it's a issue which is very difficult to answer at the moment. But whatever time it will start, the term will start sometime in the beginning of 21. Whether it is January or delayed somewhat is a matter of detail, but the course would go ahead. That's our endeavor. There is a question by someone, Harshita, saying, what is the scope for women from non-technical background in Indian Army? Well, Harshita, there are a lot of options available. There are women entry schemes for various arms and services. Today, there are 10 branches of the Army where women can join. The options are open. I'm sure in the later part of the session over the 2 days, this aspect will be covered. But as far as NDA is concerned, we are still not mandated for girl candidates. There is a question, NDA or TES, which is better? Again, it's a matter of choice and aptitude. If you want to pursue a BTech degree, and TES is primarily meant for the Army. So if you want to do a BTech and join the Army, then TES is certainly an option. However, if you join NDA for the Army candidates, you still have an option of joining any of the technical arms or service and get a BTech degree post your commissioning. So both options are available. It's a matter of choice, aptitude.
Last two questions.
Yeah, we are nearly over with the time allotted. There's time just for 2 more questions. Any more questions, please? Why are Sainik School guys not preferred in the SSP, as they are more known and they live in almost the same condition for 7 years? This question is by Aman Mishra. Aman, I'm afraid your assumption is not correct. No candidate is favored for or against. So nobody is preferred, nor is anybody rejected because of the institute that he comes from. In fact, our statistics suggest that nearly 50% candidates for all the even courses are from feeder institutes like Sainik School, RIMC, military schools, and so on. In the odd courses that start in the month of January, we have nearly 25 to 30% of cadets who join from this kind of background. So I'm afraid your assumption or your proposition is not correct. I totally disagree with that. Question, is joining through NDA better or after completing graduation? Well, as Commandant NDA, I would certainly say there is no entry like NDA. But all entries are ultimately same. Everybody joins as commissioned officers in their respective service, and everybody is a member and part of that team. However, NDA walon ki baat hi kuch aur hai. Thank you. I have finished. Very nice interacting with you. Jai Hind, and wish you all a very happy Independence Day tomorrow. Thank you.